On the power of J-Skull.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Of course, it's me, Jason, and Bo's third dad here, deep in She-Ra at the moment. So, as the title says for this episode, today we're going to be looking at season 2 of She-Ra and the Princess of Power. And I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag straight away, Jason. Like, what a great season.
Indeed. And as we were discussing, more of a half season, I think, and you think. So that is our suspicion, is that this was not meant to be a full season. It's like half of what should have been the second season.
Those 7 episodes, though, of what they're calling season 2, every one of them, there's no wasted space. There's no fat on any of these episodes. It's they're almost, each one of them like raises the stakes for me each time, emotionally, story wise. Really dug it. So hence I'm going to be gushing now for the next hour. So,
well deserved, of course, because
not everything was perfect, but pretty damn close. I mean, I think at this point, if you're not invested, you should be just, I don't know what vibration you're on, but clearly, this is a show that's not going to grab you, because I think once you start caring about these characters, which happens early on, within this series, then, them now raising the stakes, it's great.
Indeed. I'm going to bring the brightness up just a little bit in my studio. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Now I'm not just a black blob from here down.
No, that's right. Well, let's have a look at episode 1 of season 2, which was the Frozen Forest. The Horde's bots attack the woods, but the princesses can't capture one intact. Though Glimmer struggles with leadership, Catra has no such problems. Really great episode. Really, you know what I dug the most about it? Like the biggest thing I liked about it was the concept of they were just sending those robots wave by wave,
wearing them down, and it's
wearing them down,
strategy.
utilizing all their resources, and and they hadn't lost one soldier at all.
Nope.
Then you look at,
I just love the fact that you're almost proud of Catra in this episode. You're just like, you go, girl. You stick it to those princesses. You deserve this.
Yeah, she really shows her strong side in this episode, like strategically and as a leader. As in that description does. Like, she is very authoritative and in control. She's
more on top of the world.
Yeah. And in season 1, she wasn't always like that.
She's got a little bit to fall now.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. I like seeing her on top of the world. Catra we must protect her.
So, the bots thing, like I said, I really loved. And then they amp it up by putting First One's tech into a bot. And I really like that. Because I'm thinking, how do they stop that thing? Like, it grows back. You know what I mean? And literally, you cannot, and it is like the impossible thing to stop. So, and the way they do kill it, I didn't feel cheated. I didn't feel it was, not earned. It made sense to me with them combining their powers, basically.
Yeah, it made perfect sense, and I will never stop gushing about what this show did with Entrapta so early, just putting her on the Horde side and having them exploit the talents that the rebellion basically thought were annoying. I found that humbling to the rebellion and encouraging to the Horde. And, Entrapta continues to show her worth throughout this season to the point that, oh my gosh,
Entrapta is absolutely amazing. And let's face it, if you want to really put the harsh reality down, her staying with the rebellion would have limited her opportunities.
It totally would have.
So this is the thing. I get her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand why she would want to do that as a scientist.
Well, she just, like you said, she just cares about the science, and she's not evil, she's not good, she is simply somebody who wants to discover things. And
he obviously has
I don't even think she comprehends a lot of it. And as I've said before, I think it's highly suggested that Entrapped is on the spectrum, that she can't read the room.
100%.
And I think that just defines so much of her. She cannot read the room. And if she could, I do think she'd be like, oh, this is not great. Which I have to tell you a funny. I sat through a teacher training the other day, and I was listening to the person who was, talking to this entire room of teachers. And after a while, I'm like, wait a second, that sounds just like Entrapta, because she was up there going, well, if you want to look over here, we're going to be talking about this. And then I was just giggling like an idiot the entire time by myself. And I knew that if I explained this to anybody, yeah, she sounds just like a character on She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Is that a show for girls? No, it's not a show for girls. You shut up.
But you're talking about Entrapta too. She becomes a bit of a threat, doesn't she?
She was always a threat.
But always. Catra's starting to really absorb that, isn't she?
She was always a threat, and Catra was the only one who recognized what kind of a threat she could be.
And it's starting to pay off, because she starts to have, obviously, those interactions with Hordak now.
Yes.
Which makes her even more dangerous now, because she's obviously gonna whatever he wants. She's like, oh, fascinating. I'm in.
Yeah, and Hordak is at the same time somebody who underestimates her at first, and then because Hordak's kind of a snob. He's a snobby twink. I mean, let's face it. He walks in, he's like, oh, someone from a backwater world wouldn't understand this. Oh, here, I rewired it for you. It works now. What?
Yes.
I just love that. This begins such a amazing relationship between Entrapta and Hordak, because you're seeing the beginning of Hordak's character arc right here.
You know what's been so stunning about Entrapta to me is I expected in about 2 episodes she was going to go back to the rebellion.
That's what I thought the first time I watched through this, and then you're in the middle of the last season and you're like, I don't think she's going back.
Yeah, no. By the beginning of this season, I'm like, she ain't going back. Like, why would she? They have not set up any reason for her to go back.
No. But one thing that I do have to say though is that, as I've said before, this is a series where the conflict grows beyond concepts of good and evil, and I'm kind of enjoying this rewatch because I'm recognizing how they're putting the pawns on the table at this point. And I'm starting to think, oh, this is why the writers did that with Entrapta. This is why they did it with Scorpia and Glimmer and all of these people. I will say it again. This show is one of those shows where whenever they wrote the first episode, they knew where they wanted it to end. And you just see all of this setup and all of this foreshadowing, and that's the sign of true quality. It's not let's make it up as we go along. Oh, yes, they were dead the whole time. Now we're in a church, and Hurley's in charge.
Yeah,
it is. This is Entrapta's journey, and by the end, this is where we want her. This is Hordak's journey, and this is where we want him at the end.
Yeah.
And I also have to say I love this season because, as I said, this is the beginning of Hordak's arc. There are no simple villains in this story. Everybody is motivated from a place of, well, almost everybody. Almost everybody here is from a place of fear, trauma, or neglect. And you start to see that in Hordak as well. And you're just like, wow. Because we said this season was defined by emotional gut punches. There's at least 2 big ones. There's one coming up with Hordak in a couple of seasons. I think next season maybe. And you're just watching it going, whoa.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
awesome. Awesome.
Well,
we get a couple of them. Even this season, what I watched is a couple of them fighting bit. Yes. And we kind of get introduced to that in this episode because we see the start of an interaction between Catra and Shadow Weaver.
Yes.
So she's obviously being incarcerated at this point. By the end of this episode, it gets revealed that Catra's personally going in and interacting with her, which I thought was a good way to kind of end it. But I'm probably jumping the gun then because I did want to talk about the idea, and I did mention it, the idea of everyone getting together and joining forces and trying to understand that together, the power, like another level of power is there.
Power Ranger stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
We can do this by working together.
Yeah, and again, so the Uber glow, you know. And I don't know if I hate it or not. I don't know if I like it or not. I don't know if it's necessary. I would say that the show is so well written that it does feel maybe that's one element that even if it wasn't there, I wouldn't be blinking. But I think that's probably there more for the kids.
I believe so.
Concept, yeah.
Quite honestly, I had completely forgotten about it.
Yeah,
I really had. I
was just like, here we are. Though
they glow. Okay,
here they are. I'm almost coming off like, you know, really, you're supposed to be writing this for me, not for the kids. So lose the glow.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you?
I'm the one who's emotionally invested in the story about superpowered princesses.
Exactly. Yeah, but no, love the episode. It was a good first episode of the season. Kind of got established, you know, the bad guys again, established where they were from the end of last season. So, you know, the first season is basically getting the band back together.
Yeah, second season premieres usually have to do that. They have to remind everybody, okay, here's who everybody is, and here's where they're at, and here's what they're doing. Okay, go.
Yeah, big tick on that one, though, because it works. And it sets up what is going to happen in the season. And like I said, that meeting with Catra and Shadow Weaver is a foreshadowing, which becomes quite important now throughout the rest of this season.
Indeed,
I believe, anyway.
Indeed. There's so much toxicity in that relationship, and it just kind of pops like a pimple at the end.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, it's pretty full on. Let's have a look at episode 2. Episode 2, The Ties That Bind. After discovering that Entrapta is alive, Bow and Glimmer go on a mission to rescue her. Lighthope wants Adora to include Swiftwind in her training. Now, this episode here, this is, and I should have probably mentioned, we missed out the end of the last episode. Bow, isn't it? Bow at the end of that episode finds out that Entrapta's alive.
It's this episode.
Is it this the end of this episode?
Okay. I think it was this episode because, well, actually it was he finds out that she's alive in the last episode. In this episode, they find out she's willingly working for Hordak. Yes. Yes,
this is where, yeah. And the episode, look, I again, it's a really strong episode for me, Jason. I thought it was great, you know, the old idea of it. I'll go back to hang on that synopsis for a sec. After discovering Entrapta is alive, Bow and Glimmer go on a rescue to rescue her. The reason I want to mention that because that's what the emotional heart of this episode is. A lot of guilt, right?
Yes.
This is a very guilt-ridden, shame-based episode for the couple of main characters. But it also shows that's the emotional stakes. Like, this is what makes the show work, though, because when things like that happen, they spend the time for you to feel like the characters, it is weighing on them emotionally heavily. And because they write them so well, because we get those type of performances through the screen, it raises the stakes of what journey they're on. It's just not a matter of we better go back and grab her. No, this is beyond personal for them. This is like they cannot allow it. They cannot live any further unless they go and try and save her. And I thought that was sweet. I think that's a hard thing to write too. To make it, you know.
I'm trying to remember. Is this the episode where they have Catra tied up? I think it is. Is it this episode? And these kind of run together a little bit for me, but I think
they do. And I do know what you're trying to. I think that the fight you're talking about the fight because there's a great teleportation scene. Is it in this episode?
Oh, that was so great. Yes.
Yeah, there's a great teleport. Yeah, right at the beginning of the episode. Which was wonderful, and they kept like going into the same place. But yeah, they do tie her up in this episode. Scorpio is in this episode quite a bit too, which is really important to me too because I think this is one of the big relationships in the season is her relationship with Catra.
Oh yes,
it's relatable in some ways, because if you haven't gone through it, you've known someone who's gone through it. She represents that person who has a crush on somebody close to them and doesn't know how to kind of deal with it, but wants to deal with it.
There are so many crushes.
And she's so sweet at the same time. I
enjoy just seeing how just darn manipulative and clever Catra is during the entire episode, because even though she's tied up and basically at Bo and Glimmer's mercy, you never feel like they're in charge once. It's like she's tied up, but she owns it.
She throws him off that cliff.
Oh, it was so great.
How good was that? And the stakes were raised right then again, wasn't it? I was like, all right, let's,
Yeah.
And that was a total power move.
I'm dropping things. It was, and you just feel like Catra's just toying with them the whole time. It's almost like, yeah, you've got me. I'm totally not going to be messing with you this entire time.
Yeah. And it's so great, because that's a level of writing, and again, we're just gushing about that, right? But it is a level of, the normal one-note character would be you capture him and he gets away. They don't put those kind of layered subtleties of that. She is absolutely going according to her. She's a master manipulator. She knows exactly. She's 4 steps ahead. She knows exactly where she's going to be, and she knows what move she's going to make.
And we got to talk about Swifty.
We
got to talk about Swifty.
It's a big part of this episode. The other half of the episode.
He's just become such a fun character. I keep using the word wholesome, but I have no other word for it. Swiftwind is so wholesome, and he's so wide-eyed, and he just wants to help, and he just wants everyone to be fine, and and he
has a misguided ego that's not hateful. It's not hateful. Like it's very genuine, because there are times where he borderlines on being like a jerk, but then he'll say something like, he'll be a buffoon and talk about himself, but then he'll directly come out with a line that's really important and it makes sense and is important to the mission. Like, he balances that line, doesn't he? Because he's a very wise horse.
I honestly don't know how they did it, because he just seems like a character you would naturally hate. Just like, oh my gosh, he's so annoying. But at the same time, you just love him.
Yeah.
You just love everything about him.
Because besides his buffoonery and his ego, there's a wise, pure-hearted, being that, wants nothing but to bond with Adora. And that's what I liked about this episode, because that's what the mission is that she's training and she's doing well, but they want her to introduce Swiftwind and get that bond together. And I thought it was really well done. I love the songs. Did you love the songs?
I did love the songs.
Yeah. Swiftwind was, here we go, off to save the Watchtower from someone else who did something wrong. I love it.
Kind of reminded me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Swiftly and away, swiftly and away. I can't sing.
Yeah. Wow. No, it was
do you really think he's an egomaniac, or do you just think he's just super grateful for what he is? Because
I think he's in the moment. I think there's not one droplet of malice, hatred, selfishness, anything negative about it. I just think he's almost like self-aware. He's to the point of oh my God, I'm now a talking horse. Look how amazing I am. I'm pretty amazing, aren't I? Like, let's face it. And he's not wrong.
No, it's not.
He's not wrong. But also he can back it up. That's the thing with him. He can keep talking about himself as much as possible, but he backs it up with, being a heroic, wise, partner for She-Ra. Swiftwind is one of the revelations of this show. Absolutely. Because I didn't see it coming at all in any way.
Mary Sue. I'm just saying.
But I didn't see that character coming in any way. Hey,
I didn't either, because Swiftwind was such a non-entity in the Filmation series.
Exactly.
It was every now and again, She-Ra, we must go to the castle. Yes, Whitbrand, that was your only line this entire episode. This was my only line.
It was a beautiful end to it.
The way they draw him is just so wonderful. I was not a big fan of the art style whenever the show premiered because I found it kind of simplistic. But it works now, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, it works. It works. Quit being.
They take that kind of simplistic kind of animation, and all the expressions they amp them up by 10-20%.
Yes,
and it works perfectly for the pitch for the show. I think it's I have nothing negative to say because you're right. When you first see it, you go, "Wow, didn't really spend a lot of money here." It was like the cheap Korean studio working on this one, but no, it's by design, and it's actually there are scenes when you watch the show, you go, "Oh no, this is very well done. Everything is purposeful," you know. Yeah, but I loved it. It was another great episode. Swiftwind now one of the big kind of favorites. Yeah, we're going to the next one, I reckon, Jace.
Let's do it.
All right, episode 3, Signals. The squad heads to Alwyn, the rebellion's breadbasket. It's been out of contact, and there are rumors it's haunted. Entraptor sneaks into Hordak's lab. Right, what did you think of this episode?
I enjoyed it. Out of all of them, I think that this one was probably my, and I say this like chocolate is my least favorite type of ice cream. It's still great. This was probably my least favorite of the entire season, but it had some great moments. Entrapta's, her interactions with Hordak and the revelation of what was actually going on in Alwyn with the ghosts, I thought was pretty deep.
It was, and it had a beautiful, not to give away the end, but there's a moment at the end, so beautiful.
Yes.
At the end of this episode, I thought
they're just people. I was expecting more.
It is Entrapta's episode, though, isn't it? Again,
it really kind of is. Yes.
And then you think about it, Entrapta, the screen time they give her, and the importance of the role that she plays in the direction of the story. She's one of the main stars in this season for sure.
Yes, she is well deserved as well. Which, if you'd have told me whenever she was first introduced, she would be such an important character, I'd be like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
That one, Entrapta, but she earns it.
Absolutely. It's an episode where it's really, Catra is starting to. Hordak's putting the pressure on at this point.
Yes, and she's learning that leadership is not what she thought it was. It involves paperwork and requisitions, and she doesn't know how to do it. You see the cracks in her armor, and you see that she doesn't handle it very well.
And those cracks in those armor is juxtaposed, is opposite to her seeing that Entrapta, against her advice, stay out of Hordak's lab. She goes in there. And they really start that interaction towards each other. They start to work together on what looks like going to be the big plan. And Catra sees that, So her stocks are going down, and she's seeing Entrapta's are going up a little bit.
Yes, and I don't really think it's a professional jealousy. I believe that Catra sees herself being pushed out of the favor of the only father figure she knows. That she's doing everything, not for herself. She's doing it because she wants to be accepted. She has deposed of Shadow Weaver, thinking that will make Shadow Weaver proud of her. And now she's working on Hordak. Hordak puts her in charge. It's everything she wants. And then all of a sudden, Entrapta just swoops in and starts taking that approval that she so desperately needs away from her. And
add on to that,
psychologically brilliant.
Yeah, and add on to that, Catra knows that it's not on purpose by Entrapta too.
Yes.
It was
given away so easily.
Yeah. And she's like, well, it's like something she can't help and really can't blame anyone except for Hordak. But yeah, what you're really talking about is the toxic relationships that Catra has with her, guardians, the people who raised her. mentors, elders. Like it's pretty deep and it's pretty complex, I would say, with her. With the whole thing with Shadow Weaver. The fact that she's keeping her in a cage, that whole concept there, to try to reconnect with her, to salvage some sort of understanding of why, what kind of relationship they have, which we'll discover later on in the season. And then, you're right, her constant need for attention. So validation, not attention, validation.
Yeah, just simple validation, yes.
From these abusers in many ways.
Yeah.
And especially
people don't deserve her. She just does anything for them. And it's such a commentary. I would love, this is gonna sound completely bad, but I'm just thinking the writers of the show obviously have some kind of experience.
Yeah. That's the sad thing.
I'm curious. I'm curious where they drew it from to create this narrative that is just so unbelievably tragic. And yet at the end it becomes uplifting. And I just bravo. I have no other words for it. Just bravo.
I mean, we both wish that this storyline was so absurd and so uncommon and rare. But here's the reality. It is actually a relatable situation for a lot of young people out there.
Oh, yeah. It's relatable for a lot of old people out there as well.
Yeah. That's absolutely brilliant, Well, Mobile Phone Tower. Was that this episode? No, that was the last episode.
Mobile Phone Tower.
Mobile Phone Tower.
Well, this was kind of another mobile. There's a lot of episodes this season about mobile phone towers. Because
T-Mobile was not given Theory great coverage, I don't think. So, but yeah, I mean, the first one's tech. Another big player in this season. It's everything is around this first one's tech. This first one's tech it's that thing that can kind of do anything, isn't it? It's the
MacGuffin. The MacGuffin, but it works because it's a continual MacGuffin.
Yeah, that's it. It just fixes all kind of situations, which I go with because I go with it in Hollywood movies. I have for years, and I accept it. So why wouldn't I accept it here? Absolutely,
I'm fine with it.
Absolutely,
whether it's the Lost Ark of the Covenant or First One's tech, it's a age-old story ingredient, and I'm fine with it. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it.
Yeah. The ghostly apparitions.
Yes.
Kind of weird because I'm going, we're doing a ghost story here. But they're echoes more than ghosts, aren't they? Really?
Yes.
They're digital echoes. And
I think it was nice
when a door shuts off that device.
Yeah.
It's kind of, she says, this now can rest in peace or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a great way to kind of demystify a lot of her own abilities, because she has been seeing the first ones as these godlike beings, and here she finally sees them for what they truly were, just regular people. And I just find that I think that this episode is a lot more important than what we realize.
In what way?
That she sees She-Ra and the first ones are just the result of people just like her. That they were not meant to be deified. They were not meant to be placed on a pedestal. They were people who lived, who had children, who went to work, and who died.
They were flawed.
They were flawed. They were not perfect. And, I think that kind of also gets rid of a lot of her guilt that she's been feeling quite unfairly about what Mara did. And Mara is another character that is recontextualized later, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I'll reserve my judgment until then, I think. Because what I'm presented with is something like, I don't know. What I'm thinking at the moment, I love the idea of it. I love the concept. I love the mythology that they're building. Back with the first ones and all this kind of stuff. And it's becoming like it goes in directions that I really don't see it going, which is always fun and a surprise.
Yes, that is.
Watch it. And this episode especially, too, with that, the whole ghost episode, normally this type of stuff, I don't like ghost stories. I love films, but I generally don't like ghosts dealt with in cartoons. Put it that way. I'm weird like that.
Did you not like Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm a bit Scooby-Dooed out at this point.
Oh my gosh,
or Jabberjaw.
No.
Yeah, Jabberjaw. Which was
You didn't like Jabberjaw.
No, yeah, but it worked. No, I liked it. I liked it very, very much. But I tell you what, I did love, Jason. And this is the next episode, probably.
Oh, this is my favorite of the season.
The highlight of the season.
Yes.
We're getting into it right now. And that is Roll With It. Adora and the princesses role-play plans for retaking a Horde fortress. With Scorpia in charge, the defenders face a challenge. What a brilliant idea for an episode.
It's the D&D episode.
It's their D&D episode.
Oh my god!
It's not meant to be, but it absolutely is. They're legit trying to make plans, strategic plans, to take the fortress, which I love the idea of it. And I immediately connect straight away what they're doing here. We're going to get different versions on how to tackle this problem.
Yes,
and it does not disappoint, does it?
And different animation styles as well. Which I just loved so much.
Which is great. And I personally love Glimmer's animation style.
Glimmer's animation style was just the anime was just so wonderful.
I just loved it. You know, I absolutely love the different interpretations of Catra.
Yes,
wonderful. Throw some Eartha Kitt in there too. Did you pick up on some of that?
I did pick up the Eartha Kitt.
Yeah, it was very good. So a lot of fun to be had with this, hey. And Indeed. It pays off. The whole episode to me is almost like a payoff for a throwaway gag they did in a previous episode where they mentioned about these figures and she goes, Bo made them for us. In the first season?
Yes.
There is a mention of those figures. And now there's a whole episode based upon them playing literally D&D with those figures. Right.
We got to talk about Bo's interpretation because whenever that showed up, and that is the 2000 characters reimagined as the 80s characters.
The mustache was just perfect.
I died. I was deceased as the kids.
I did laugh.
Just everything from the pun war between Bo and Catra. I guess you will land on your feet. Well, I will have a perfect plan. I'm positive you won't.
So
I would be lying if I thought you would win.
I personally love Mermania, isn't it?
What's that?
I always get Mermania. Is it?
It's Mermista.
Mermista. Sorry.
Mermista.
I'm thinking. I've gone. Yeah, I'm getting old. Sorry, folks. Mermista. Her whole thing about really just. I found it as a giant, she was kind of just teasing She-Ra. Because this is the episode. Remember, she turns around and goes, I will be She-Ra.
I will be She-Ra, yes.
Which I absolutely love because all the princesses join in, obviously, and they start putting their version. So I love that bit with Mermista, and she basically, what does she have? Yes, she does a He-Man joke. I guess she uses the line, I was introduced to fabulous powers.
Yes.
My trident. Yes. It was great. I absolutely love that bit.
And I just love how all these different versions happen at the end. They make it happen, and it's so satisfying. Everything from She-Ra to Ultra Armor Frosta. This is a lot colder than what I thought it would be.
Yeah, we start to get a bit more about Frosta too. Episode we start to get a bit of a breakdown of who she is, what her dynamic is within the.
She sees Glimmer as a big sister, and that's so cute.
Obsessed,
I think it's adorable. Yeah. I sat next to Glimmer.
She's looking for a friend. Yeah, it's sweet.
And I love how they softened her up because whenever they first introduced her, I was just like, I'm not going to like this character because she's just kind of a witch. But yeah, so they softened her up and they made her more of a kid, and I really enjoyed. I like the wholesome interactions that she has with these older kids because she's a lot like Catra. She just wants to be accepted and she wants to have that validation, and she gets it. I mean, Frost, you don't cross Frosta, she will she will frost you.
Yeah. And you know what's great about her? And I reckon that was on purpose, the way that they wrote her, that she wasn't a likable character.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to like her because that also teaches, younger people that certainly don't judge a book by sometimes the first interactions you have with people. You shouldn't completely judge a book on its cover. So it is, you should take the time to get to know people. And I love that messaging behind it as well. And it's not overt, it just is.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important.
You never feel like you're being pounded over the head with the moral.
Never. No. So, but yeah, roll with it. Like, Scorpia's got a bit of a leadership role in this episode. What did you think of?
I liked her in a leadership role. I thought that she was a threat on her own terms. Yeah. And, physically and I would say even strategically, I think she did well.
It's a funny balance to have because she plays someone who is normally would have been written of just the hopelessly in love and therefore a bit of a buffoon. But she is not incapable. She's very capable. And believe it or not, doesn't let that crush that she has, a very obvious crush, affect her performance at all. So, yeah, she's always a threat when she's near. Again, absolutely love her, So, but it's all about trying to impress Catra. That's absolutely the obsession there. That's what the driving factor is too.
Why she's probably trying to impress other people on the show. It's quite interesting. You either got an episode about somebody trying to press somebody, or you got an episode about a faulty cell phone tower. It's very weird.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, absolutely one of the highlights, just because the whole idea of the team working together and what they are, it's that continued journey of them trying to figure out how to be more efficient as a team and get that team kind of working together. They're showing signs of brilliance, but even at this point, they're not a well-oiled machine yet.
Not yet, but they're getting there, and they're
having getting fun there. Doing this is an episode that helps them progress towards that.
I also like how it highlighted Adora's own fears about being part of a team, because she's not scared to be part of a team. She's scared of what's going to happen to the people on her team.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting.
Well, it's a burden and a fear she'd be carrying based upon the past, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that's the other thing is Adora, probably greatest fear is what happened to the previous person is going to happen to her.
Yes, she's very insecure.
Yeah, very insecure. And you know what? I don't think it's unwarranted, to be honest with you. I mean, you're thrown with that, you are going to be feeling very kind of insecure. It's a lot to carry on. I mean, this is a kid who is not only powerful because she can swing a sword. This is a kid powerful who's been able to be resilient in times of great trauma. I mean, her whole world came crashing down mere months ago. Now she's heading up a rebellion. Now she's going through these situations again and again. And, she keeps standing up and going to it. It's amazing. And come on, Jace, it's a cartoon. Of course she's going to. No, they're not writing it that way. Everything that happens to these characters matters. That's what they're telling me as someone who's watching it. Like, we're not frivolously doing things. So it just makes it, really powerful, doesn't it?
It really is, yes.
Yeah. All right, let's take a minute. It's getting all deep and heavy. Let's lighten it up with a commercial. We'll be back in a second.
Let's do that.
Here's Angela and Glimmer. Also separately, you can pretend. They're lovely friends of She-Ra, and they have a secret power. Dark forces can't make trouble here. For Glimmer shines, she has no fear. All is deep in the skies where beautiful Angela flies. The fate of the world's in the hands of these beautiful girls. Princess of power. Angela and Glimmer dolls each sold separately. She-Ra dolls sold separately. New from Mattel.
Oh my God, Mom! Why can't you let me have a commercial by myself?
What an upgrade for Glimmer.
Indeed. What an upgrade for Angela as well.
Yes. But Glimmer had like the most extreme perm. Like hair maintenance alone for that version of Glimmer is just, she spent a lot of money on hair care, I reckon.
Those dolls were great for about a month, and then the hair just became like this big tangled horrible poof ball of an afro. Just it's time.
It still is amazing that the whole idea is to make, because they're not dolls, they're action figures. I mean, I don't know where you sit on that. Because they're supposed to be battle,
Do you think Tila was ever jealous of the Princess of Power's hair, or was she just like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I got to just have this hard plastic up here"?
Yep, it's easier.
Yeah.
Tila seems someone who's also very kind of like doesn't care about that stuff.
No, I don't need to go to the hairdresser. Last time I went to the hairdresser, it was Hordak in disguise.
Yeah.
I had
to ask my dad to help again. I had to call Daddy to bail me out yet again. All right, here we go.
Episode 5. Yes.
Episode 5. Whiteout. Catra, Entraptor, and Scorpia head to the Northern Reach for First One's tech. The squad follows with Seahawk, who's having relationship problems. Always great to see Seahawk.
It is. That's really what kept this episode from being my least favorite of this season. It's second least favorite. It's just kind of like, well, this is fine, but I'm not just fully invested. Oh, we're infecting the sword again. How interesting. Oh,
yeah. I'll tell you what my favorite part of the episode is the after effects to Adora once she's separated from the sword. She becomes drunk, basically.
Oh, yes, which is kind of what they did in the first episode too.
Yeah, which is
kind of
hilarious. I love that.
That was kind of my thing against this episode, was that it was repetitive for me. I felt like, we've seen this. I liked it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked the episode, but I just felt like we saw so much of it before that it was just repetitive.
Yeah, I probably didn't not like it as much as you did, because I suppose you're going around the second time now too. It's the first time I'm seeing that gag's now been played twice for me. Yeah, I can imagine you seeing it the third or fourth time. You're like, joke's over. But nevertheless, the bit before, when she was rageful, like, what do we call her? Like Monster She-Ra?
She-Hulk?
Yeah, I don't know, but really cool.
Yeah, I was at first I was like, oh cool, they're gonna just make her just this rage beast this time.
Yeah.
And then they fell back on the whole drunk gag, and I was just disappointed that they did that.
Fair enough. Seeing Seahawk again, though, you must have liked that.
Oh, I'm always happy to see Seahawk.
Yeah.
He's such a fun character.
He is, isn't he? And it really is. Yeah. It's one of those things. He's kind of limited, though, isn't he? How much more can we use Seahawk?
We're going to find out.
You're going to find out. I'm going to find out.
I mean, we don't see him every week, so it's like it's okay to have this, bi or tri-weekly visit from Seahawk. Oh, yes, it's Seahawk. Hi. Mm-hmm. Then you get kind of tired of him at the end of the episode. Then he doesn't show up for 3 or 4 episodes. Then he's back again, and you're like, Seahawk. I remember I liked him.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Steve Urkel of the series.
He kind of is, except he doesn't take it.
Hey, man, in his time, Steve Urkel, he was mildly funny. Mildly. Very passable.
I mean, he was 90s.
It
was the 90s.
He's infinitely better than Steve Urkel.
So much so, yes.
That's my point.
Agree.
I resent me coming up with that comparative in the first place. Anyway, moving on to, really the whole season, this first one's tech. A lot of things are built around this first one's tech, which means, and I know you can't say anything, but there's got to be a big payoff here somewhere down the line around first world technology.
Yes. You remember the mic drop I told you? The mic drop that's coming. Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah. But at the end of it, though, they escape with tech, though. They get away with it at the end, don't they? It's bad guys get away with this.
Yes, they do.
They get the tech that they need.
Yes.
So it sets up a pretty interesting next episode.
All kinds of nefarious things going on right now.
Yeah, the penultimate episode, you would suggest, episode 6, which is
Light Spinner.
That's it. In my accent. An imprisoned Shadow Weaver. And I can really lean into the Aussie if you want. An imprisoned
Please
Shadow
do.
Weaver recalls her past as Light Spinner, a powerful sorcerer who taught Glimmer's father. Hordak gives Catra a deadline. There you go. That's as Aussie as we can get.
I like it.
Great episode. I really was excited, beyond excited at this episode. This is one of my faves.
I enjoy so much how oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the actress's name, and while I'm trying to look at it without like letting anybody know that I'm trying to look it up on my phone.
Yeah, I had her name up before. She's a wonderful actress.
Yes,
wonderful. And her performance in this episode is...
the performance is so great. The way that it's Shadow Weaver's voice without Shadow Weaver's malevolence. And I just find that so not only amazing, but also a tiny bit terrifying and off-putting, because it's almost like Light Spinner had this monster in her the whole time, just underneath the surface, and it's all communicated through that voice. And I just kudos, and it was amazing. I just think this is probably one of the best vocal performances that we have seen in the series so far.
Oh, without question, it is an award-worthy performance for us.
Absolutely.
And Herbert and the way she plays it out, and the fact that, like you said, you know, it's always been underneath, simmering there, and they don't try to give you, oh no, she was pure and good, and then something happened to her, and now she's evil. They don't do that.
No, she was like that the whole time.
She's making poor choices at Light Spinner. Like,
Lorraine Toussaint. Lorraine Toussaint is her name.
Wonderful actress.
Yes, from Rosewood and Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, and you know, because you're doing your rewatch at the moment. The moment, like basically halfway through this episode, I had that moment of I could literally right now go back and watch every episode with her in it again.
Absolutely.
Because what I'm seeing here is obviously shifting my perspective enough that I'd be curious to see, now that I'm seeing her origin story, how I look at her maneuvers right up to this point, Maroni in season 2.
And I also liked how this episode communicated that despite the fact that she becomes a monster, she's not a complete monster, because she still has affection for Micah.
Yeah.
Because she straight up murders everyone in the room except for Micah. And whenever you think she's about to go in for that kill, she just puts a hand on his face, and this poof goes away.
Goes away. Yeah, absolutely. And hang on a minute, and this is where I get a bit blurred too. Is this the confrontation scene between Catra and
that is next episode? Actually.
Next, we'll talk about that next episode then.
Yes,
which is just unbelievable. But this whole backstory about it just, they avoid doing beat by beat stuff. They take an interesting direction. You know what's coming. You know it's inevitable. But it's a good thing in the way that they tell it, because it's helping building to that.
You know what? I'm sorry, I was wrong. This was the episode where Catra has her meltdown.
I apologize. This scene, Jason.
Yeah.
This scene.
Yes.
Now, one of the scenes of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It is all powerful. It is like emotional. It is everything that you could ever want from that kind of confrontation,
Yeah.
It was a jaw-dropping moment for me watching.
When Catra walks in and she's just so ready to have that bond with Shadow Weaver again, that parental bond, and you just realize that she's been manipulated, just like she's been manipulating everybody else. It's just, Catra is such a tragic character, and you just want to just pull her out of the TV and hug her and say, "It's gonna be okay, baby. Just get rid of these toxic people. You'll be fine. You're better off without them."
And the thing is, I may have jumped the gun there a little bit too, because really what sets it up, what really sets up that moment, is the scenes prior. It's that connection that they were forming.
Yes.
It's the fact that you never saw it coming.
No, you didn't.
You didn't, and that's when that. And I'm talking about I haven't jumped the gun too far, have I?
No.
No. So
No.
we are talking about the moment where she's screaming.
Yes.
We spoke about. We had a quick chat about this prior to recording, and the thing that struck me about that moment, and really was the moment, was the fact it was a mixture of emotion, and you heard it through her voice. The fact that she was full of rage, she was full of despair, she was full of confusion and rejection, and these just mix of stuff, and this guttural roar. Just like, don't know how many takes it took her to do it in the recording booth. Hopefully not too many, but that is
perfection. Four vocal cords out.
Yeah, it would have, absolutely.
Yeah, it was the powerful scene. I don't know if this show was ever nominated for awards. If it wasn't, it should have been. And if it was, I hope it won every single one of them for this season.
Yeah, I think it was. This episode. I think you'll find it was. It definitely won a lot of GLAAD awards. I know that. But it won a lot of other awards as well. So, but yeah, certainly recognized. It has been recognized, but it should be recognized at the highest level. Whatever that is, that's up to interpretation anyway. Yeah. But yeah, like, to me, I wonder in the initial concept, Jason, that maybe this was going to be season 2, part 1 and part 2.
I believe so. Yes.
But they decided to change it up. Because I've got to say, this feels like the episode to end the season on.
You would think. And then we have an extra episode, which is
we have an extra episode. No, before we get to that though. Yeah. So obviously this is all about Light Spinner. And I know I'm coming back to it, but her plan, the fact that it wasn't a decision based on malice though to that plan. It was an idea and a concept to help, of course.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Exactly.
And this is exactly what it is.
This was that classic kind of turn, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I thought we might have got the reveal, but they don't. They don't do the full. We don't get the reveal, which I love the mystery of that at the moment.
Yes.
I mean, of course, I want to see what she really looks like. But if they didn't, I'm totally cool with it because I love sometimes not knowing. Sometimes your imagination is better than what it is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything to add for this episode before we move into the final episode of the season?
I have nothing further to add. I'm ready to talk about the dads.
Oh, yes. Yes. Episode 7 reunion and improvised in prison.
Prison Shadow Weaver recalls her past as Light Spinner, a powerful sorcerer who taught Glimmer's father. Hordak gives Catra a deadline.
Exactly.
I do believe there was some fudgery with this certain. let me help out. Catra searches for Shadow Weaver. Adora and Glimmer follow Bo to a mysterious library and learn that he hasn't been truthful about his past.
Okay, I like that one better. Much better. Bloody IMDb. I'm just lazy. IMDb. That's what I do, folks. I'm not hiding it. I'm just looking for the easiest source of the synopsis. Yes, but it is basically, it's an episode of My Two Dads, the way it should have been done back in the 80s.
It is.
No, it's the way it should have been done. Like, let's face it. Like,
yes.
No, it's wonderful. Okay, here's the whole thing. I'm a straight male. And the fact of seeing that relationship, what I love about representation in this show, especially, is it's enlightened the way they do it. Because it's not rammed down anyone's throat. It's not put on any kind of highlight. It's just the way the world is, which is almost a sign of it's wish kind of, well, it's not wish fulfillment, is it? But it's the idea would be the theory in many ways, when the way they do relationships, it would be the ideal situation where we want to be as a human race.
Absolutely.
And I love the way they go about it because it's not about, oh my God, we've now got some gay dads. Look how progressive we are. it's not really highlighted in a way. To me, it's the son and his parents.
Yes.
And it's the sitcom concept of he's gone away and he's lying to his parents.
Yes.
That's the way it's sold.
You could have easily taken one of the dads and replaced him with a mom, and it would have been the same episode.
You could have easily replaced the two dads and replaced him with two mums.
Exactly. And that's something that I enjoy about it as well, is that they don't do diversity for just diversity's sake. It's just a natural part of the world. And like you said, this is kind of the way I wish the world was. Oh, you got two dads? Okay, cool. Yeah. Why are you telling me? I don't care.
Yeah. What's their names? Yeah, like, so what? Like, yeah, what's their name? What do I call them? You know, yeah. I do love that. But they're a great couple. I will say that.
They are. They play off each other very well. And I like the relationship with Bo, even though Bo is lying to them. I like that they're both nerds. They're both history nerds.
They specifically have attributes that Bo has connected to one dad and connected to the other, like the emotionality of the taller dad. I can't remember their names.
It's
but he was getting really emotional quickly. I feel that definitely Bo gets that from him.
George and Lance. There we go.
Yeah, George and Lance. I can't remember who the taller one was. So
that was Lance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and Lance's emotion to everything and his enthusiasm and his eagerness, I could see, where Bo gets that from. And then there's the other side of him, you know, the look and the demeanor and the way he carries himself from his other father. So I thought that was wonderful. And of course, Bo being Bo, of course he had a couple of supportive fathers, but again, he had a secret, didn't he? He had something to hide.
It's almost it's almost like he came out to his gay dads.
Yeah,
it's such a funny reversal.
I feel like there's a bit of, I hope I'm not being racist here, but a bit of ethnic relatability, because in some communities, that's a big thing, is the expectation that you carry on the family business. Doesn't really happen a lot in Western culture or where I'm from. We don't have that kind of burden to carry on. But I do know it can happen with Chinese families. It can happen with African families, all sorts of places around the world. So
it happens a lot with American families as well. I've seen.
Oh, does it?
Parents. I've seen parents I've seen kids come into my school going, "Yeah, my dad wants me to take over his garage whenever I'm grown. You know, that's just what he wants me to do. So I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to take over his garage." Well, is that what you want to do? Not really. But it's expected. And it happens quite a lot. So there's a lot of
there you go.
A lot of young people who could relate to this episode.
Yeah, I think it happens to a small degree here in Australia, but a very tiny. The general consensus is, go follow your dreams, do what you kind of want to do. But we do see it with some. So it's a relatable storyline. I suppose that's the point. It is a very relatable storyline.
Strange way to end the season, though. That's
It is. Oh yeah, let's face it. It is a really
season 2.1. A very strange way to leave it off. I mean, there was that.
This is a circuit breaker. Yeah, this is a circuit breaker episode. I call them a circuit breaker episode because usually it comes off the back of what we just had, which is a very big, powerful episode, and it's a way to cleanse the palate or cleanse the palate of the audience to have something like this. You know what I mean? Before you go into, it does feel odd. It definitely does feel odd.
Yeah. But it was a cute episode. I mean, that's all I got. It's cute.
It's cute. It's funny. It's good that we get Bo's backstory. The girls are right to feel annoyed, to be honest with you.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Because they really do have it right, because they have an unbelievably close relationship, those three.
Yes.
So it seems like a very odd thing that Bo, who's so open and forthcoming with everything in his life, all of a sudden, Glimmer's going, "Oh no, he's always been very private." And I remember watching it going, "Well, hey," and I'm thinking, there's been nothing in the show that he's ever mentioned his family.
And there you go. We have to mention Catra gets caught in a lie. which I thought was just so devastating. Imp sucks.
Yeah, like it's not great. Quite an intimidating scene, actually. Wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know Catra's in trouble, and she has lost her standing, and you just hate that for her. You just absolutely hate it. And then, of course, we go right into the cliffhanger. Shadow Weaver shows up right beside Dora's bed, and it's just like, great security you have at Bright Moon.
Yeah, absolutely. Their security cams need to be
I just wanted the next episode to open up and with Shadow Weaver leaning over going, "Where's the bathroom?"
Well, that's where we're headed next in season 3, aren't we?
What are we doing that next? Because there's a certain
No, we are not. We are taking a circuit breaker.
Yes, we're
next week.
We call it a combo breaker here in America.
Yeah, combo breaker. I don't actually have the graphic in front of me, so I'm not very well prepared. But you would have seen it on social. You are watching the show. We are doing a He-Man and She-Ra Christmas episode next week. So cannot wait. From the old filmation, 1985, I believe. It's gonna be wonderful. We get to see a side of the characters we don't normally see, especially Skeletor.
Yes. It's a big crossover episode. We get Hordak, Skeletor, She-Ra, He-Man. I think we see some characters in this episode that we actually never see again. They just show up going, "Hi, I have an action figure." Okay, I'm
as excited as Lance, basically. Is this? Oh no, it's not the wrong picture. He's not excited there. He looks more worried, but I am excited nonetheless. I just want.
Yes, I love how. I love
how.
Look,
that was a great
dad
season.
Had on the classic '80s costume. Also, explain why Bo had the hearts on.
Yeah, it did.
Why hearts? Oh, your dad did. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And you're right. We go back to that image when we're talking about different sides of him. He's definitely looks closer to. Sorry, it was Lance, and who was the other guy? Brad or something?
Oh my gosh! I just said that. Was it David and Lance? George and Lance. George and Lance.
George, yeah. George, he's definitely more looks familiar to George than he does.
Lance. I kind of feel like opening up a can of worms right now, but.
Yeah, we won't, because as I'm saying it, I'm like, I am opening up a can of worms.
Because I said something in the chat about, Bo resembles these two guys so much, it makes me wonder if same-sex couples can reproduce in the land of Etheria, if there's like science or some kind of magic that just like magically makes a baby.
Well, here's the thing, and there's definitely evidence towards your theory because of what I said too about very clear attributes from both.
Absolutely,
men.
He's the best of both.
And that's what I was kind of alluding to too. Like he has got the emotional kind of heart of Lance, and then I think he's got the practicality and look from. Was it George? Did you say
George and Lance? Yes,
George. So which then would imply. That's not something a learnt behavior, especially emotionally. That's usually a behavior that's carried on. Interesting. A big conversation for a whole nother day, I would say.
Oh, most definitely.
But anything's possible in Etheria, so we'll keep it at that. Now, we're going to move on to our next segment, Casting Call. It's time for that.
Absolutely.
That's the responsibility we have, Jason. We've been given all this money from the president of Hollywood. He wants us to make our She-Ra movie, and now we are tasked with casting this week Scorpia.
The mistress
quite
of
cleverly standing
herself.
on the seats there.
Well, Scorpia stands on those. She's getting support. She's getting the support that she deserves.
I really love the design.
I do too.
Look how well it's designed, like in the sense that just everything about her hair, like the way her claws, her stinger tail. Yeah, man, she looks dope.
She does. I love how they make her look dangerous and yet at the same time, just somebody you'd like to hang around with and just be pals with.
Yeah. I tell you what, Scorpio is someone you could ring at 3:00 in the morning with a flat tire. And they'd come and help.
Yes, they would. They could single-handedly lift the car up while you change the tire. And just the whole time so what you doing tonight?
Yeah, that's right. He's trying to make plans to catch up later. Absolutely. Now, this is a tough one to cast because you got to look at it, you know. And we'll go with yours first this
Okay.
week, James. And I got to say, your pick, never heard of the person ever.
Yeah, this person, I was looking more at her IMDb, and she actually hasn't acted in a few years, so she may be retired. But I cast on pure physicality alone because Scorpia is huge. She is built like a venomous brick house, so to speak.
She's massive.
I chose an actress who is 6'9", a former wrestler who has appeared in a couple of television shows and movies. Her name is Lindsay K. Hayward.
Wow.
And she has such a
I've never heard of her.
Yeah,
Can
she
I
has such
say
a friendly
he
looking
was-
face that I just kind of like, I think she could pull off.
She's
Scorpia.
definitely got the look. And the thing is, I wanted to get a picture of her profile to show her in scale, but unfortunately, the type of photos that she was in, I couldn't use for this particular. They weren't. She was wearing something, but maybe something that is appropriate for another time, and not this show.
I see.
But she's massive. She's huge. I mean,
She is.
And apparently extremely talented wrestler. So yeah, physicality wise, she would have been like perfect for sure. So there we go. We're thumbing back. Yep, you're back.
I'm getting kind of hazy.
Yeah, you were getting kind of hazy there. Yeah, you weren't so confident in your choice maybe this week. Maybe that's what it was. No, it was a great choice. I've never heard of her, but I looked at her and went, "Oh well, geez, all you have to do is give her a haircut, put on a few, a costume, and that's her."
Absolutely. Just pure physicality.
I cheated, to be honest with you, because
but you cheated in a very creative way that I respect.
The fact is, I looked up first episode I saw her, I looked up at who she was, and I went, I know this actress, and I love this actress. She was in a sitcom, not a great sitcom, but I leave it on the background, Netflix, called Superstore, and she played the security officer in that. And she was hilarious in that show. She was actually the only really funny character. Everyone else was like mediocre funny. She was the actual funny one. So she was one of them. When I found out it was her, I'm like, wow. And then when it came to casting it, I'm going, well, what makes Scorpia work so well to me is her personality. Lauren Ash, the person that I've chosen, plays the actual Scorpia. There she is there. And she brings such a specific tone to Scorpia that I found it hard to replicate. And the fact that she is somebody who's changed herself physically before for a role. I think she would be perfect for Scorpia. I think she would absolutely be a good fit. I think you would have to do some, trickery with height, good old-fashioned Hollywood, smoke and mirrors. But besides that,
what? If they can make Tom Cruise look like he's normal height in every movie, I think that they can do it for Lauren Ash and make her look taller.
Yeah, I mean, she's got unbelievable comic timing, and as you hear her voice talent in the show, she creates this balance of basically being a stalker, who is a villain, who's absolutely adorable and likable, who's loyal, who's also extremely dangerous on a battlefield. It's crazy. This is a complex character, and she dances this line with this character that makes her somebody that you're absolutely glued to when she's on the screen.
There are a lot of characters who should not work on this show, and they do, and it's so laudable. I just love it.
Yeah. And Lauren, I mean, it's gay. Scorpia is, to me, it's pretty clear she's gay, and I don't know, but I could be wrong. I believe Lauren is as well. So, and again, it's not. I don't know because it's not forced down our throat, but obviously her obsession with Catra, I think, is more than just a friendship for her.
I don't think anybody on this show is gay. I think that it doesn't matter. Well, I think that if you find somebody you vibe with, then that's who you choose.
It's a social construct that just doesn't exist.
Exactly, because I mean, let's face it. If Glimmer was not around, Bo would be with Seahawk.
Probably,
perfectly honest.
Yeah,
If,
that would be
if
on just
Seahawk was not
adventure
around,
to
Mermista
adventure
would, yeah,
to adventure.
Mermista would totally be with Adora if Seahawk was not
You
around.
reckon?
Oh,
Who's
yeah.
Glimmer? Who does Glimmer
She
then?
is so low key in love with Adora.
Yeah.
I mean,
what
come on,
about Glimmer? Who'd
Sierra.
be a good match with Glimmer?
A same-sex match with Glimmer. I don't want to say Frosta because there's that weird age difference, and I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
more
too
of a
much of an
sisterly
age
thing.
difference there.
I don't know. I don't really see one
No.
with Glimmer.
I don't
I just don't see
either.
that
That's
spark.
why I asked. It doesn't. It's not really evident.
Bo is her one and only.
Yeah, yeah. There is. Yeah, we're the best friends. That's
Yeah.
it.
The best friend squad.
Well, season 2, mate, amazing. Like I said, so basically we'll be back in the new year starting season 3. I think it'll work out.
Absolutely, yes.
So that'll be really exciting. And we probably should say while we're talking about business that in the new year, Power of J-Skull will move to a fortnightly schedule. We won't be doing this every week.
All the 12-year-old kids out there just went Fortnite.
Fortnite? Yeah, exactly. They're out. They've just turned off. That's it. We don't even get a proper full view because I said the word Fortnite. No, yeah, we'll be moving to every 2 weeks because of the new show that we're going to be doing,
Yes.
Jason, you and me, next year as well, which is called the VHS Vault. I should have had the graphic ready. I don't. Basically, it's a show we're going to go back and watch some of the classic films from our youth, things that we were exposed to in that VHS area, and we're going to talk about it like a couple of reminiscing old nerds that we are.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got some bangers picked out.
Yeah, we got some. The list of movies we got is crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Wait to
if you're
revisit
old
some
like
of these movies.
us, it's great because you'll be able to reminisce with us. If you're young and you want recommendations, definitely tune in as well because we're going to give you recommendations of things you should watch. So, especially if you want to kind of get a sense of film history, we're you guys. All right, but before we go tonight, we're going to launch a brand new segment, Jason. And it's a bit uncomfortable to say the least because it means that I'm going to be kicking you off the show for a little bit.
Again?
Yeah, man. Sorry. Like I've been very lucky. I've been able to secure the Lord of Destruction himself.
Elon?
I can't believe it. I've literally been able to get Skeletor to come on and do a segment for the show. Yeah. Mate, I don't know what
that's
to say.
awesome.
So,
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
that's all I'm going to say. All right. So, Jason, I'm sorry, mate. I'll bring you back. I'll tell you, just hang out in the room. Just hang out in the green room or wherever. And I'll bring you back afterwards. But I'm sorry. I've kind of got to boot you because here's the new segment called Dear Skeletor. And, of course, here's our special guest, the Lord of Destruction himself, Skeletor. Or should I say at Evil Papa?
Evil Papa.
Right. What can I say? Thank you for making the time. I said the video's not great. Clearly not great Wi-Fi up at Stank Mountain there, but we'll deal with it. It's just glad to have you on.
Well, that's what I get for allowing Beastman to put in the Wi-Fi. That bumbling furry fool.
Yes. You may have to
do
that.
decent Wi-Fi up here at Snake Mountain. Something with all the cell phone towers being messed up.
Yeah. You really got to get better henchmen, but we'll talk about your recruitment model later. You're here to do, basically, you got to give advice to people out there because Skeletor, you've been through things.
Of
You've
course
seen
I have,
things.
you Aussie oaf.
Yeah. Classy all the way. All right. Well, okay. Well, look, let's just get into it. I have our first letter, Skeletor. So are you ready? Are you ready for this question?
I'm always ready. Proceed.
Okay. Dear Skeletor, for the last 20 years, I have held the gourmet cookie stand at the state fair to great acclaim. However, this year, my private allocated space that I've held for 20 years, no less, has been given to this individual who's also selling a lesser grade of cookie. I've now been put all the way back now near the barbecue pit. What can I do about this injustice? Karen, Ohio.
Interesting. A conundrum worthy of Skeletor. Well, let's see. First of all, What kind of cookies are we talking about here? Are they evil cookies? Because if they are not evil cookies, you should seriously consider making them evil. Because I find revenge is such a great ingredient to put in evil cookies. Finally, how dare you interrupt the great Skeletor?
I'm sorry, Skeletor.
Oh. Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
All right. Skeletor has lost his train of thought.
Okay, I'm sorry, Skeletor.
How dare
I didn't
you?
mean to. I will ask though. Evil cookies. I mean, yeah. What's in an evil cookie?
What is not in evil cookies? Good. You take all the good out of cookies with a ray or some kind of potion. You take all the good out of cookies, and then you have evil cookies. Also raisins. Put lots
It was
and
quite
lots-
philosophical right up to the raisins bit.
Well, you've just put lots and lots of raisins into a cookie, and it squeezes all the good out of it.
That is true. Now back to poor Karen from Ohio. She's been booted by the sounds of it. She's held her space, her territory, and it's been taken from her. Skeletor, you're someone who land acquisition's part of your deal. How does she get back what's rightfully hers?
Simple. Revenge. And a shadow beast. Bring a
Yes.
shadow beast. Say that it is a service animal because they cannot legally ask you if it is a service animal. It's illegal or something. She's a Karen. She will know this. You bring the shadow beast, put it next to the offending oaf who has taken over your rightful spot, and then wait. And you know what happens next.
No, what happens next?
Are you kidding me? It's a shadow beast.
Yeah.
It will, beast. It will de-Karen her. It will, oh my God, it will eat her.
Okay, I got it. I got
By
it,
the
Evil
great
Papa. I got it.
goodness.
I got it.
Just-
Don't have to be condescending
I
now.
thought Beast Man was a moron. Oh my God,
Well-
he would have figured this out already.
Yeah, it's like why did we sign a contract for you to appear on every episode? I have no idea. But we're going to roll through it.
Because I
Thank
would
you,
have
Skeletor.
destroyed you otherwise.
Yes, of course, Skeletor, of course.
Oh,
All right, well, that ends the end of this first clearly successful segment for Dear Skeletor. Bye, Skeletor.
Silence!
Jason, thanks. Thank you so much for that. I apologize.
This is a jerk.
That didn't go well, but thank you for waiting.
But you're
I
going to have him
appreciate
back next week, I'm assuming.
it. Yeah, we signed something. There's money involved.
Well, I cannot appear on the show with him. He knows what
No,
he did.
we'll keep you guys separate, all right, as much as possible. I get it.
And
I get it.
I don't think that a shadow beast is a registered service animal, by the way.
No one really vetted how good his advice would be, I don't think. So, but I think we're stuck with him. Anyway, all right, that's it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. That was season 2, She-Ra Princesses of Power. Oh my God. Season 2, and I'm convinced this is the best version of a Masters of the Universe spin-off franchise that I've
I
seen.
told you
period.
so. I told you.
You did. You did. You definitely did. And you know what? I was a little bit skeptical because, we're all guilty sometimes of overselling things. But you definitely did not oversell, probably undersold a little bit, to be honest with you, because this is amazing.
I agree, yes.
Yeah.
It is quite nice.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for our He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. We'll see you guys then.
Goodbye.